Maíria Cahill, the woman who alleges she was raped by a member of the IRA and who says the Republican movement knew of the abuse, has said she wants Sinn Fein to tell the truth. Ms Cahill says she was raped in 1997 and was later interrogated by the IRA about her claims. Yesterday, the Sinn Fein President Gerry Adams said he was personally horrified that certain remarks were attributed to him by Ms Cahill during a meeting they had. A case against the alleged rapist and those said to be involved in the IRA inquiry collapsed. Well, staying with that, before we came on air, we spoke to Maíria Cahill. I asked her first about her contacts with Gerry Adams in relation to her allegations.
Well, he actually arranged the first meeting, and I agreed to that on the second request. I mean, he asked me a couple of minutes apart did I want to meet, and I refused the first and agreed the second. And I met him the day after. I met two IRA representatives who were there on behalf of the leadership of the IRA. And when I got to Gerry, we discussed in detail the abuse, who the abuser was, the IRA investigation. He apologised on behalf of the Republican movement, and I also then subsequently met him right through to 2006 when an issue arose in relation to this case. And I think his denials of, I think he said today he didn't know the detail. I mean, I just find that completely ludicrous. Do people think that we were discussing the weather, you know, or anything else? That was the reason that the meeting was called. That was what was discussed. That can be confirmed by other people, and I just can't understand why he would even seek to deny that. Well,
what he says is there was no detailed discussion of the abuse you suffered, and he also says that he said you should take this to the police. You should go to the RUC.
Again, completely ludicrous. Anybody with Google can find any statement from Sinn Fein on the matter of the police during August 2000, and I did quote earlier a quote from Gerry Adams where he referred to the RUC 1 month before he met me as a quasi-military police force, you know, pandering to unionism, I think the quote was. But and it is, again, ludicrous. It's appalling. Gerry was vehemently opposed to the RUC because they were going through the patent reforms at the time and seeking to disband the RUC. For Gerry to say that he called on me to go to the RUC is quite frankly ridiculous.
What about this IRA investigation, this IRA kangaroo court, I think is probably the best way to describe it. Now, if it happened, Gerry Adams says it shouldn't have happened. What happened?
Well, not if it happened, it did happen. And yes, it shouldn't have happened. I do agree with Gerry on that point. It was wrong. I was subjected to forced IRA interrogation. They used the word investigation into details of my alleged abuse, which actually 2 investigations. The first one culminated in the IRA taking me to a flat in Andersonstown in West Belfast, and they brought my abuser in to face me in a forced confrontation in order, they said, to read my body language to see who was telling the truth.
So they made you confront your abuser?
Yeah, well actually, yeah, it was a very heated couple of hours of a confrontation.
And had that followed, as far as you know, an investigation of what you were saying about what happened to you?
It was a repeated investigation from around about October or November 99 right through to March 2000, and actually it was focused on me and repeated questions of me, and I've lost count of how many meetings actually over that 6-month period, but the abuser actually wasn't made aware of it until the end of February or March 2000.
And the outcome of that was what?
The outcome was that the IRA then sent another 2 IRA representatives down to my parents with me to tell them that they had conducted an investigation, that it was inconclusive, in their words, that they couldn't prove who was telling the truth. That man was a member of the IRA, and I mean, it's quite clear that they were seeking to protect him and silence me. And they also instructed us that not only could we not go to the RUC to report it, but we weren't even allowed to tell members of my own family. So my own grandmother, for example, didn't find out about all of this until August 2000, when other alleged victims of the alleged perpetrator came out.
I have to put to you what Mary Lou MacDonald, Sinn Fein TD, has been saying this afternoon. She says that if anybody was involved in a cover-up of child abuse, of rape, I mean, they should be held to account for that. They should be brought before the law. But she says there's absolutely no evidence that anybody in Sinn Fein has been involved in such a cover-up.
Disgusting. How does Mary Lou know that there is no evidence? She has also said that she hasn't even bothered watching the Spotlight programme, and I would urge Mary Lou to go and do that. Sinn Fein were offered a right of reply with detailed questions. They didn't actually take or answer any of those questions. What they did was release a stock statement of denial. And I think that's quite telling. And I think the other thing that's quite telling is that a person or persons sought to have that programme injuncted to stop it going out. And why would you try to stop a programme going out if you weren't afraid of what was going to be in it? And I think that's telling.
So far as you're aware, is yours an isolated case? Or have you had contact from people before or since the programme to say something similar happened to me?
Yes, well, when I found out about Anya Adams' story, actually, and I went to the police and made my own complaint, I started, and I had gone public at that stage too, although I hadn't waived my right to anonymity at that point, and that was in 2010. I started speaking. I obviously said to people, what has happened here? I had another family member confirm that there were other cases of investigation by the IRA. And I then started getting messages from people, and I went and I spoke to them, and it was deeply, deeply traumatic. And I also spoke to former members of the Republican movement who confirmed that there were other cases. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, I thought it was maybe an isolated couple of cases. And in the last few days from the Spotlight programme aired, I think we're looking at a hugely significant number of victims. And I think this is a huge issue for the South because it is quite apparent now that there was a pattern of behaviour on behalf of the IRA and Sinn Fein, because what I am seeing now and what journalists are seeing, because they are contacting me today to say that victims have been in touch with them and that they are now corroborating stories across the board. Perpetrators in the North were accused of abuse, and the IRA clamped down. And they moved the perpetrators out of the jurisdiction so that they couldn't face the full rigours of the law, and victims had no idea where these people were moved to. And in some cases they were shot, which was wrong. The IRA had no business involving themselves in it. But I think the crucial point about it is, at the minute in Ireland, North and South, there are people who have been alleged to have committed serious crimes of sexual abuse who potentially have access to other children, and those children are at great risk. And Sinn Fein knows this information. They have refused to cooperate with the police on it, and they haven't brought the information forward. And I'm appealing to members of Sinn Fein who know without a shadow of a doubt that this has happened to soul search, to come forward, to say that it happened, to bring the information forward, because that is the only way we are going to be able to protect children on this island.
Maíria Cahill speaking to me a little earlier.